Welcome to the Golf Podcast Live, brought to you by ECS, Evolve Creative Solutions, and our Golf, our new sponsor. I'm your host, Rafael Kalamat in Toronto, alongside Michael Bleackley, as usual, in Vancouver. So much to talk about, but before we get started, we have a very special guest. He is an American professional golfer. He is a legend, 28 professional wins around the world, 11 PGA Tour victories, 10 Champions Tour victories, and a Ryder Cup member. And us being in Canada, we've got to mention 1983, Mr. John Cook won the Canadian Open. So that's fantastic. John, welcome to the show.
Pleasure. Good to be with you guys. Yeah, that 1983 Canadian Open was very special in a lot of ways.
Well, and a 6-hole playoff, and you took out Johnny Miller. So, it's at Glen Abbey Golf Club, one of our prize jewels.
Yeah, and Jack Nicklaus was a shot behind. So I know he never won the Canadian Open, finished second like 6 or 7 times. That was one of the years. So for that victory in 1983, me and my second PGA Tour victory was really, really special.
Yeah, that was great. With Jack Nicklaus, Glen Abbey was his first designed golf course, wide open fairways, beautiful course. That actual course just got saved because they were going to build on it, and now it is back, and the Canada Golf is still located there with the Canadian Golf Museum. So we're thrilled that one day it'll be back there. Next year, the Canadian Open will be at Oakdale Golf and Country Club, but this year, at St. George's Golf and Country Club. I had an opportunity to meet you out there because you were working, I believe, for CBS and Golf Channel. Tell us about your experience at St. George's at this Stanley Thompson design. Multi-complex greens, very small, undulating fairways, really got the players ready for the U.S.
Yeah, it absolutely did. It was a great a great test. It was a great preview to the country club. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had not been to St. George's. It was a wonderful golf course. It had everything. It had reachable par fives for the whole field. It had strong par fours, great par threes, a lot of movement. You had to work the ball one way or the other off tees, and that's exactly what Brookline was. So it's no wonder, why the guys that played well at St. George's all played well at Brookline as well, every single one. So it was a great preview. I thoroughly enjoyed walking around St. George's, and I know the crowd was just happy to be out, outside watching golf. The 16th hole was amazing with the rink. The spectators there really had a lot of fun. I think the guys really enjoyed it. I think the tour players really enjoyed the golf course, and it stood up. It really did. It stood up to the best players in the world on a golf course that was in wonderful shape, and it didn't have a lot of weather. It wasn't real breezy. Kind of had a little bit of rain early in the week, so it played a little bit softer than they probably wanted it. But you know what? It looked great. It showed great, and we all had a blast.
It was a great field, and we obviously missed the tournament the prior 2 years for obvious reasons. So, as Canadians, we were starving for live golf, and the course, it delivered. The field delivered, and there's a lot of controversy in our sport right now, and the PGA Tour product was in full showcase on that Sunday in Canada, and timely as well. So yeah, we're very proud of it, and look forward to seeing the Canadian Open. Hopefully, it stays in this schedule for a few years, because it seems to work really well with it being a week ahead of the U.S. Open. We've always had scheduling issues and conflicts over the years, so we're hoping it stays like this for a long time.
They've got some wonderful golf courses to play. Hamilton is fantastic. I don't know much about Oakdale. Obviously, St. George was fantastic. Shaughnessy, I played 1 year there in Vancouver. I thought that was outstanding.
Yeah.
What a hard golf course that was. And of course, Glen Abbey. It's great news to hear that Glen Abbey has been saved and will become part of the rotation again. It's part of the Canadian Open, and that's where I won my Canadian Open, and it's just great up there playing such, great fans everywhere you go in Canada, and they love the game. They love the game. They showed it last week at St. George.
Now, when we look over at the Canadian Open, we're thrilled to have it back, and you being part of that, and is pretty amazing, because now you've made a bit of a transition. You're going from the Champions Tour and now covering it a lot more as an analyst. How's that transition been for you? I know you did a little bit of it back in the day, but now you're doing it more often. Are you enjoying it? Is it a different perspective? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's I really do enjoy it. It's something that I wanted to do. I never thought I would talk for a living. As my wife would say, I didn't get 20 words in, maybe in the first 25 years of our marriage. So for me to be talking for a living is a lot different. But I wanted to bring a perspective of a player on the golf course and just thinking out loud. And I know it kind of gets old, commentators saying this, saying that, but I really thought I could bring a different perspective on really thinking about what I'm, the shot that I'm going to play, the number that I have, my thought process. Is it Thursday, Friday to make a cut, Saturday, moving day, or Sunday, trying to finish a golf tournament? I've won a lot of golf tournaments. I've lost a lot of golf tournaments. I can tell you how to do both. Not that I wanted to lose any, but I know what happened in those losses. So I always want to bring a little bit different perspective. I know how tough this game has been, how tough it is, how hard it is to win and close out a golf tournament on the professional level. So the transition wasn't too difficult, other than I kind of, yearned to play a little bit more. But as I got, closer to 60 and in my 60s, I realized that I wanted to keep working for a little while, and to be competitive at golf, I didn't want to put that time in anymore, and the sacrifices you've had to make. And my wife has had to sacrifice, 45 years of our lives to my craft, and God bless her for allowing me to do that and become successful at it. And, I just didn't feel like I had the time to put in to be competitive, but I felt like I could still make a difference by doing television. And Golf Channel has given me a wonderful chance, and I'm doing Champions Tour, doing PGA Tour, doing college golf. I loved college. I love doing college golf. College golf is a huge part of my life. And probably wouldn't be sitting here with you guys if it wasn't part of my life, to get me going in the right direction and understand how to get better and better each and every year. So I'm trying to get better at what I do now, and that's announcing. I love it. I love being on the golf course. I love being with the young players, getting to learn more, getting to meet more of them, earning their trust, earning their respect. And of course, the Champions Tour players. I love, being around my old partners and my old friends, and, guys that we grew up together playing juniors and playing, college and amateurs and early years on tour in the 80s and in the 90s. So I'm thoroughly enjoying what I'm doing right now. And I hope to be able to do it for another cycle or two.
Excellent. Great. And curious do you do anything to practice for being an analyst and having great things to say constantly? Like, what do you do to sharpen up your craft currently?
I listen. I watch the players. If I have a question about, something, I'll go up to, their caddy, or I'll go up to them, and I'm interested. I'm inquisitive. I want to get better at my job. I work with great professionals, whether it be Bob Papa, whether it be Lanny Watkins, whether it be Billy Ray Brown, whether it be Kurt Byram. They've been doing this a long time, a lot longer than I have. And I feel like they're all friends of mine. I listen and I learn, and we talk amongst ourselves. I do pick Bob Papa's brain a little bit about, different roles. It's a different role when I'm on the golf course as a walker, and a different role when I'm in the booth doing holes. So I'm always listening. I've gotten to work with, great people, Gary Williams, Damon Hack, when I was doing the studio stuff at Golf Channel. So I worked with real pros and with great producers. I pick their brains. I want to hear, I can take criticism. Let me know what you want more of, less of. I go to my, higher ups at Golf Channel, and I'm always asking them the same thing. What do you want more of, less of? And I'm just trying to get better. I always did that as I was growing up playing golf. So in these few years I have left to do this, I want to get better as well.
And to your point, John, when you're talking about guys like Jim Nance and Rich Lerner and Vince Cellini, they have a very different perspective as analysts. When you're a player like yourself, it's very unique because you've experienced it. So Brandel Chambly or Justin Leonard or someone like yourself really brings a different take on what the player's going through mentally and what they're going through technically, and knowing the golf courses and the pressure that goes along with playing golf. So it's really great to have you and listen to you. And I think you're doing a fantastic job. So kudos to you. Now, just to pivot a little bit, the Champions Tour is growing exponentially, or is it just me? Or am I just getting older and am I enjoying the guys I grew up with? But it's certainly getting very competitive. And we've had guys on like Rob Labritz and Len Matisse, Ian Leggett, guys who played on the Champions Tour. Do you feel like it's more competitive, and is it growing?
It's yes, I do. I do. Quite frankly, it is growing. There's more. We call them the younger guys coming out, the 50-year-olds, the Stephen Alkers, and like you said, the Rob Labritz, and some of those players that are just turning into their 50s. Of course, you had Jim Furyk, Ernie Els, Retief Goosen, turning in their 50s, all Hall of Famers or going to be Hall of Famers, major championship winners, bringing a new light, a new exposure to the PGA Tour champions, along with the old guard, Bernhard Langer, still playing great at almost 65 years old.
That's unbelievable.
I just got tired of him, honestly.
We always joke around that he can't be human. I mean, that's not possible. He must be an alien, right?
Yeah, exactly. what he does, he's so dedicated to his craft. And then you got the Europeans coming over. You got Jimenez, just playing great every single week. He's such a great ad and such a great personality for the PGA Tour champions. It's such a great product, and I love it. I love to promote it. Entertainment value, sponsorship value, pro-am value is just off the charts. And then you get to play with Hall of Famers and major championship winners each and every week. Somebody is up there winning, and it's then you've got great stories like Stephen Alker coming out of nowhere. Yeah, and his last 12 months have been just absolutely incredible. Where's he been? Who is this guy? Well,
he's just proved himself that he deserves to be out there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
he's an inspiration to the 50-somethings out there that think, hey, we can do this too.
That's 100% right. It's so I love to toot the PGA Tour champions horn. It was a great part of 8 years of my life that I really dedicated myself to. Played very well, had a lot of chances, won 10 times, finished second a handful of times, and runner-ups in majors. And so it was a big part of my life. I love to see it keep going. I love to see it keep growing. I do have I have been in touch with Commissioner Jay Monahan of the PGA Tour, and he assured me that it's on their radar, that it's a big part of their tour. They want to keep promoting it and adding to it. So we have his blessing that it's going to be around for a while.
Good. The product has definitely improved. I mean, I'm right in that age demographic too, but you're seeing players that we've watched for decades, that we've played video games growing up, that are all now out there on tour. So I think the energy's, just really brewing right now. And there is a pretty famous golfer named Tiger Woods that's getting closer to 50, and
coming into the pipeline.
Yeah, I think if he decides to go out there, and which I think for the growth of the game, we will see him out there. People are going to explode out there in terms of fans.
Yeah, I think it would be a great addition. If he played a couple of events, 2, 3, maybe 4 events, but maybe play the senior majors, maybe play in Newport Beach where he, is close to where he grew up. It'd be wonderful. He doesn't have to play every week. He can play, very limited schedule and still play his, 5 or 6 on the PGA Tour as well. So I would love to have him out there. I know we've talked a little bit about it. He's always kidding me that he's wondering if I'm still going to be around in 4 years. I said, well, I'll be close to 70. But, you move me up another set of tees. Heck yeah, I'll go play.
That's awesome.
I'll come out of retirement for that.
But hey, you never know. With the way golf is growing, we'll have the Super Senior Tour up there. But I would love to talk, John, about your 1991-1992 season a little bit. If we look back in 1992, you finished second at the PGA Championship, second at the Open, at the British Open, that is. And you were tagged as the comeback player of the year in 1992 as well. And then you got on to the Ryder Cup team in 1993, leading up right into that. What happened? You set yourself on fire. You're kind of the pinnacle, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, of your career. Tell us about that year leading into 1993.
Yeah, I'll have to start with 1989 when I got hurt. I had surgery on my right hand and my right wrist. I had a fracture of the second metacarpal bone, and they had to mend it back together. This was in April of '89, so I missed the rest of the year. And I didn't know, honestly, if you were ever going to play golf again, honestly. And I didn't get the okay to even start going to hit balls or do anything until I was 100% healed and 100% strong and had all my strength back. So, preparing for 1990 season was dedication and a second chance. And I knew, I'd won 3 times, but I knew that wasn't enough. I could say, yes, that was a nice career and I could move on. But I really felt like my best golf was ahead of me. And I came right out in 1990 and started playing good, right away. It didn't win, lost a couple of playoffs. 91 was kind of the same, didn't win, but I got really, really close a few times. And so going in
1990, John, sorry to interrupt, but 1990 was, you won the St. Jude, and then you won Vegas.
I got beaten playoffs in both of those.
Oh, right.
Beaten playoffs, yeah. Tom Kite beat me at Memphis. Bob Tway beat me in Vegas.
Right, sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Time goes by quick, right? That was a little while ago.
Just you wait. No, so that proved to me that I could still do it. 91 was still kind of the same. I was frustrated I didn't win. And the winter of 91 was one I'll never forget. I mean, I absolutely grinded on everything, my body, my work. I put in a lot of work, and came right out and won the first event at the Bob Hope in 92. And from then on, I just, won a couple weeks later in Hawaii. And then I just kind of kept going. So yeah, it was a special year, 92. And I got better and better. I had, great support around me. Obviously, my wife was just a tremendous support, knowing that it wasn't too many years before that we were trying to figure out what were we going to do. If I couldn't play golf anymore, what were we going to do? We had some ideas, but wanted to give it one more shot. And we did, and we committed to it. And my family was extremely supportive, and kind of off I went, started playing, better and better, had some chances at majors, got really, really close, had, one hand on the claret jug and the other one slipped off, and then the other one slipped off as well. So, but it got me into the, mix into the Ryder Cup, and I earned my way on that team. I wasn't a pick. I earned, points wise. Yeah. So, I felt like a real, real big part of that team. And it was an honor. Anytime you can represent, your country, your school in anything, it was an honor. I played on the world amateur team, the Eisenhower Cup. I played on the World Cup team, and represented the U.S. in college matches, and then I got to play the Ryder Cup, and it just was an absolute thing. I still get chills talking about it on how special it was to be over there.
Yeah, dive into that for us a little bit, like your first time on the team and getting over there, and the nerves you're feeling, and the excitement, and all that. Share a bit of that.
Yeah, we were over at the Belfry, so we were the visitors, and I played team sports growing up. I played football and basketball mostly through high school. I didn't play football my senior year of high school, but I played basketball. So I knew the team aspect. Going to college at Ohio State, playing on that team, winning a championship, winning an NCAA for Ohio State University was a great thrill and a great honor. So representing the U.S. there, at the Belfry, going there, I kind of almost thrived on away games. I loved going into other gyms or other fields and throwing touchdowns, or making baskets to beat them in their gym or beat them on their field. That was I loved that. And so going over to the Belfry, we didn't feel intimidated at all. We were ready to play. Obviously my excitement was out, off the charts. And I didn't get to play till Saturday afternoon, unfortunately. So I had this pent up energy, Friday morning. I was out there on the first tee at 7:00 in the fog, just waiting for this to start. Then I knew I wasn't playing in the morning. So the afternoon pairings came out. I wasn't playing in the afternoon. So Chip Beck and I went out and we played. So he wasn't in either session as well. So we just want to make sure that our games were ready. And Captain Watson, came up to both of us and said, "Hey, you're going to get a chance. Just be ready when it's your chance. We're doing good right now." I said, "Hey, Tom, you don't have to explain to me. I get this. It's okay." And then Saturday morning, we weren't in the session again. And you kind of get a little, gosh, what did I do wrong? I'm still playing pretty good. I practiced well. I think I can team up with anybody. And sure enough, on Saturday afternoon, when the pairings came out, Chip and I were paired together against the number 1 and number 3 players in the world. And that was Nick Faldo and Colin Montgomery. And everybody's kind of going, well, this is a point. This is a sacrificial team here. They're just kind of giving away a point. They're trying to save their guys for the Sunday run.
Right.
And sure enough, we took them to the end and beat them 2-up. So that was a big point for our side, for the U.S. And Captain Watson made it known to everybody on how special and what a huge point that was. And he said, going to that first tee, he said, "This may not seem like it, but I think you guys are going to win this match. I think you're going to win us a point." And we just looked at him and said, "Done." And we did right from the get-go. Yeah,
beware the underdog.
Yeah, we were certainly the underdogs. And I made a putt on top of Faldo on the first hole. And from then on, it was, they were playing from their heels and we were playing from front. So, and we knew what to do. And Chip, his attitude is like just incredible. And he was such a cheerleader on the team, and in that pairing, and he just kind of kept patting me on the back. "Hey, John, you're swinging great. You're one of the best players in the world. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep playing. Hey, I'll be here. I'll make a bunch of pars. You just shoot at every flag. You got every shot in the bag." I mean, he just was like such a motivator. It was
That's
so
great.
fun to be around him. It was great.
You ever? Do you ever give Faldo a hard time about that one?
No, I don't. he got 6 majors to my 0.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think he'll be quick to remind all of us of what he's accomplished.
it does
right?
come up every once in a while. That was the last U.S. team to win over in Europe. So
yeah.
Wow. Well, you
have that.
mentioned
Hopefully
John.
that ends.
But the
Right.
next team is pretty strong, so I suspect the U.S. may have another one next year.
That would be nice. I know it goes to Italy, and it'll be interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
they'll be ready. This young team, this young crowd is they're hungry, and they don't know that history.
Yeah,
All they know is, hey, we've won the last one, and we've won the President's Cups, and
Yeah.
they don't know about that history. All they know is what they've done, and I think they'll be great.
and there's similarities to previous European teams where like the Euros travel together, eat dinner together. This young crowd and the U.S. team, they do all of that. They've grown up together. Look at Scheffler and Zalatoris and Spieth and Thomas, and I think it's a slightly different team. I think they're really well connected, and the Europeans and the international team, the President's Cup side, are going to really have to bring their games to compete against the U.S.
Yeah, I
squad.
agree. You're right. These kids grew up together. They partnered together. They teamed together. They've
Mhm.
traveled together. It's kind of old school. It's like what we all used to do in the 80s
Yeah.
when we were all first starting out. We were carpooling together. We were going from city to city together. A lot of us. So it's very similar.
John, things have changed a lot since you left Ohio State. You turned professional in 1979. Today's purses are just outstanding and incredible. You could really, play 1, 2, 3 years, and with the sponsorship endorsements, you could retire or just, move on to something else. Unlike yourself, you actually had to make a decision, right? You had to think, well, if I can't play golf, you haven't made enough money. And that was a lot of players were in that boat. So now I'm looking back at the fact that on the golf beat, people talked about when you were in university, is it true that you wanted to be a football player and your coach kind of convinced you to go into golf? Is that a true story?
That's pretty true. My father was a football coach for a long time before he got into marketing and public relations for auto racing and then into golf. So I had that blood in me, and I played quarterback in high school, and it just so happened that the head football coach, high school football coach, was also the golf coach. He didn't know much about golf. He just kind of would drive us around, and we had a pretty good golf team. But I always went at it pretty hard, and I was decent enough I was going to get better as I went along as a quarterback. And I doubt if I'd ever played Division I wasn't that good. So then what are you going to do? And so he kind of said, hey, we don't want you to get hurt. You go at it way too hard. You take too many hits. We don't want you to get hurt. You're getting better and better at golf. So he did. Yeah, he did. He talked me into moving on, that they were going to be fine. They had whoever was backing me up or was a year behind me he was ready to step in. And so I didn't feel too bad about going and calling it a career in football. So yeah, but I love the game. I love the game of football. I love to study it. I love to watch the quarterback play. I love to watch the defensive coverages and try to learn more about that. So he played a big role in me just concentrating on golf and getting better each summer, and not having to go into cutting my summer golf, cutting it over in August to go play football. Now I could play all the way till basketball season. So that was a good move.
Amazing.
That's very cool. I'm looking back at what we do on this show with all of our guests, whether they're players or analysts or work in the industry in some shape or form. And we like to bring out some funny or embarrassing stories. So I'm sure you have a few over your career. Is anything pop out in your mind when I say funny or embarrassing golf story, either on or off the golf course in the world of golf?
Yeah, there probably is, I would think. I think the most embarrassing one that I can think of, right away is actually happened at Glen Abbey in 1981, my second year on tour. And I don't know if you remember that year, or if you can research it, but they had a disease on the golf course. So the fairways were not very good, unfortunately. The golf course is fantastic and the greens were fine, but the fairways were real patchy and not very good. And, one thing I always learned from Ken Venturi says, you have to accept the conditions and play as hard as you can. And I was trying, and sure enough, I think it was on Sunday, I hit a shot on the 17th hole, and it was, got in one of those holes, and, I hit a bad shot, my own fault going up there. And I started to, kind of hit the turf with my club and hit the turf with my club. And, next thing you know, you kind of go mind out of body, and you start taking turf out. And CBS camera was right behind me and showing every shot of it. And Frank Chirkinian at the time was the producer.
Right.
And boy, did I hear it from Ken Venturi after that. And that never happened again, blaming anything on the golf course or anything, a shot that I hit on anything other than myself. So that was probably the most embarrassing thing I've done.
Were you guys getting fined back then in any shape or form? Were you getting fined back then for any?
Oh yeah, but somehow I escaped that one.
Okay, good.
So the only time I got fined, actually, this is kind of a funny story, is, and I probably should have been fined a number of times. I always would get mad at myself, and I'd scream at myself, and never got, mad at anything other than that one time. And so 2006, I'm playing Riviera, and it's Sunday. I'm going off the back nine, so we're going around to the front nine. We're playing the fourth hole, that long par 3. Back then, it was into the wind, 245 yards. It's cold, and the ball's not going anywhere. And for me, it was a driver shot. I mean, no way I could hit 3 with that far. And
right.
And Sunday, and I'm just trying to do something. And I hit this little cut driver up in the air, and it's landed on the green, rolled up there about 8 feet from the hole. And I speed lit my first putt, and I missed it coming back. So I just hit a driver in there 8 feet and 3-putted it made a bogey. And I'm walking up to the 9th tee, and I'm cussing myself out. I'm screaming at myself. And there's a marshal right there. For some reason, he thought I was screaming at him. And so he sent a letter in. He sent a letter in to the tour on my behavior. And, you get to appeal it. And so what I said, hey, I did this. I was screaming at myself, told him the situation, that he's not, very correct in what he thought he saw and all that. He said, and then I said also in the letter, he said, I have probably should have been fined more times than this first time. So I'm going to pay this fine anyway, because I deserve more than this, but I did not do that towards him.
That's funny. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's pretty amazing. These are the things that we don't usually hear when you have players talk about their experiences on or off the golf course or in the locker room. And so thanks for sharing that. That's pretty amazing. Mike?
Yeah, no, that's great. Like Matt Adams has told us a couple of great stories. We had him on here, and a fantastic storyteller he is at that too, right? Yeah. So it is really entertaining. It makes me think of a couple of things that happened at the U.S. Open this weekend. Obviously, Grayson Murray he's probably got the fine already. It's a bunch of viral videos have gone around. It's been pretty comical, after the club toss and wedge break. But the situation with Justin Thomas, he, with the drain, he asked for some relief, and and admittedly he said no, he can play it without hitting the drain, and then went on for a minute or two there, and if you dealt with anything like that through your career, where unfair rulings and whatnot, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm sure along the lines, I've called for second opinions a couple times on situations that, I just didn't agree with. And, at the end of it, you do what's right, or you do what, you've been told to do, or not that you agreed with it. You just kind of went with it. And that's the beauty of this game is you have to be honest with yourself. You have to, at the end of the day, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, I did the right thing. I did everything I could. I did the right thing. And in JT's mind, he did do the right thing. That, it was close to that great. And who's not going to flinch? You just kind of, where's the edge of that great? Is there something underneath that they can't see, or you can't poke into? So that was really big of him to say, I can play it. And then I also understand him afterwards saying, hey, there's plenty of players that would have kind of stretched the fact that, they didn't feel comfortable playing it and they weren't going to risk it. And they might have gotten a drop. So, JT, he's kind of had, a couple issues, where he's cursed himself. And hey, I get that, because I played 45 years on tour cursing myself. So I understand that. So I think it's big of him that, to come forward and tell everybody exactly what happened.
Yeah, he's a class act, a good ambassador for the tour. So one thing I caught while doing a bit of research on you, 1993, you had a chance to go to the White House and didn't. So I'm curious, have you ever had a chance to get back into the White House?
We actually did go to the White House. We did go.
Yeah.
And it was an honor, an absolute honor to go to the White House and meet the president. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? I'd meet any president. I think it's an honor. Not that you have to agree with everything that they talk about. And they asked me something and I said, no, I don't agree with President Clinton on a number of things. But I'm an American. I'm allowed to have that opinion. And, they didn't like the answer that I gave them, which a lot of media sometimes don't like your answer. Yes. And it got blown out of proportion that, the U.S. team doesn't want to go to the White House. They're all, a bunch of conservative Republicans and they don't want to meet the president. I said, that's nonsense. We loved it. It was an absolute honor to, meet, the most powerful man in the world and go sit in the Oval Office. My gosh, who wouldn't want to do that? It was
that's amazing.
Really a thrill to do that. And then to stand up there and have him, come by and shake everybody's hand and, have something to say to each player. And then we went from there to the airport and got on the Concorde and flew over. So
very cool.
That was, I would, get a chance to meet the president. I'm in.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Someone needs to update Wikipedia out there. Just going to announce that.
Yeah, we did go. We have pictures.
Excellent. Wow. Have you ever golfed with the president?
I had played with Gerald Ford when I was the defending champion in 1993 at the Bob Hope.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the first round of the next year, you play the same course that you won on, and then you played with Bob Hope. Gerald Ford played, I believe that was it. I forget who else played with us, but God, it would come to me. But we didn't play with the three presidents. The next year, Scott Hope played with Gerald Ford, with Bill Clinton, and I forget who else, along with Bob Hope. So he got to play with three presidents. That might have been George Bush. I think it was 43. So I think, or 41. I'm sorry. Yeah. So it would have been. I got to play with Gerald Ford.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's an honor.
John, we're running a little low on time. We have to talk about the elephant in the room. Live golf is, of course, the big topic, not only in the last couple of weeks, but it's occupied the last couple of months. Greg Norman, I know that, your acquaintances with, Phil Mickelson. What's the banter in the media and the locker room internally? Is there something, first of all, get your opinion on it. and be it a short opinion or a long one, we're fine with that. But what do you think about Live Golf?
I think you'll get very, ideas. I think the media you'll get one answer from the media. I think you'll get a number of different answers from the players, obviously. And I go back and forth on it. We've been talking about it for, like I said, 6 months amongst, the announcers that I work with, whether it be Bob Papa and Billy Ray Brown, Kurt Byram, Trevor Immelman. We work a lot together, the 4 or 5 of us. And we talk a lot. And we've been talking through, early part of this year on to now. And then I go back and I think you have to ask me that question when I'm 25 years old and, maybe have won twice on tour and think that, I have the game to win more and more and more. Ask me when I'm 35, when I was in the height of my career. And then ask me when I'm 45, when basically the tour just says, if you, don't have your, lifetime exemptions and you're not exempt on our tour, you need to wait now till you're 50 years old. Well, that's hard. That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult reality.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up, wanting to play with the best, against the best, beat the best. When I turned pro in 1980 or 1979, we didn't do it for the money. There wasn't much money. You were not going to get wealthy in those days. You did play for trophies. You did play for championships, chances to make Ryder Cup teams, chances to win major championships. So I wouldn't believe that I would have taken that opportunity to do something else but play on the tour. At 35, I was in the height of my career. I was winning a lot. I was winning consistently. So I didn't feel like I had the need. And we started to make some money at that point in time. Again, you're not going to get wealthy, but you can do pretty well and provide for your family pretty well. At 45 now, that's a whole different conversation. But it still goes back to, you want to play against the best, beat the best. But at 45 years old, maybe you didn't feel like you could, and now you want to ride out your career and fill your pockets and run off into the sunset, and maybe
you've got to
play again.
You've got to make that decision between legacy and money, and what that decision may be. I just feel like it's slightly unfair for the players as independent contractors to be getting the bad side of all of this, because we very well know there are dozens of American companies that do business in Saudi Arabia, and so that's where the hypocrisy really comes from.
Absolutely, 100% agree. 100% agree with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could go down the line on both sides of the story, and make arguments for and against. And it comes down to what's best for you at the time. Yeah. And you can't give me that. You're getting paid with blood money. Well, right. that happens. PGA Tour's played in China for how many, 25 plus. And so the LPGA and Formula One and NBA and so I think that that argument kind of runs and hits a wall, and then it's just what's best. Liv's not going away. It's not going away. I promise you
that's
that.
True.
Yeah.
It's the fields to probably improve from this point. As we know, Abraham Answers said yes, and I predict there'll be 5 or 6 more this week that may jump over there.
It'll be an interesting week for sure.
Well, last week, before we had Mark Zecchino on, I just spent a few minutes doing some very quick research, but spot checked the PGA Tour sponsors, and 7 ones that I chose all had operations in Saudi. Oh. And Greg Norman was quoted this weekend mentioned there's 23 PGA Tour sponsors that operate in Saudi. And the Euro Tour has been going in and out of there for years. So it's kind of, like you just said, the argument hits a wall at a certain point. And the end of the day, I believe the PGA Tour is so strong. There's such a strong legacy attached to it that it's always going to command the best players. But, this Live Tour is not going away, and they could run a loss for 10 years. These guys don't care. And what happens if they end up buying the DP World Tour? If that deal goes through, then
Boy,
the
Don't think
story
there's-
just gets
don't think
upended, right?
not some phone calls going on right now between Montana and the DP European Tour people. You
Yeah.
bet
Oh,
there.
yeah.
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 Well, Mike, and John, let's keep this light and finish this up on a funny note. Let's do some rapid fire questions. Our audience always wants to know a little bit about our guests. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions, John. First of all, your favorite food. What's your go-to food that you love to eat?
We are well, I'll give you 2. It's either Mexican or sushi. We're big sushi eaters. My wife and I, our family. I eat anything. I've tried everything, and I can eat anything. I can take it to the extreme. I love it.
Yeah.
How about music? Is there any go-to track or something you like to listen to when you work out or you're on your way to a tournament or an event?
Yeah, I'm a big rock and roll guy from years and years ago. I'm an old Clapton, old Hendrix, Led Zeppelin type, into the newer bands, Alter Bridge. I'll even go with a little alternative, maybe little Killers or something like that. 311 is a
cool.
great band that I love. I'm a music fan. I'll listen to most genres, but I always go back to what's rock and roll right now, and what was rock and roll back in the early days.
And finally, your ultimate foursome, excluding family members. So anyone dead or alive you would love to play with as your foursome. And what course would you like to play at?
Well, it'd be Cypress Point, without a doubt. It would be Hogan. It would be Nelson. I have to throw Venturi in there, although I played thousands of rounds with Kenny, and those were his mentors. So I would love to hear the banter between those 3, including myself, and then to throw a little monkey wrench in there, who played a lot of golf, and I played a lot of golf with, and he passed recently, and that's this will blow your mind, Eddie Van Halen.
Really?
Yeah. We got fairly close for a number of years. He had taken up golf and loved to play golf, and picked my brain to get around golf, and he got better. He was a member at Lakeside there in Los Angeles, so he got serious about it, and always wanted to take him to Cypress Point. Unfortunately, he passed a couple years ago, but he would round out. I would caddy in that group and just listen to those.
You just stole my line. I'll caddy for you guys. I'll be there.
Right.
Michael, let's wrap things up.
Excellent. So the show is available on YouTube and through our social media channels. As of tomorrow, it will be on 17 podcast platforms, all of the favorites. So please check us out, share us, subscribe, do all of those things. We'll really appreciate it. Thank you to AR Golf. They've just come on board as a brand partner to us, and we'll be promoting them and giving away some gear and some accessories over the year here. So stay tuned for that. And thank you, John. I really appreciate your time today. It was great to catch up with you and hear some stories. And we'll see you out there sometime.
Anytime. My pleasure. Had a blast. Thank you. Thanks, guys. You had a great show.
Excellent.
Awesome. For John Cook, Michael Bleackley, I'm Rafael Kalamat. You've been listening to the Golf Podcast Live. See you next week.